The American Civil War in plain English.
Today we have America. It has many states in this large united land which stretches from the Pacific to the Atlantic. A very strong nation that can withstand anything. Well, it wasn't always this way because of one of the worst wars in history, the Civil War. Lots of differences divided America. One gargantuan difference would be the climate and geography. Climate is long-term weather which is mapped over decades and centuries. Geography is the land itself. How it looked, felt, and was able to hold up land, life are all parts of geography. The North had cold winters and hot summers, which made it impossible for crops to grow. The South, on the other hand, had mild winters and steaming hot summers. These were perfect conditions for growing crops.
Because the North couldn't grow crops, they turned to a different type of economy. Industry and machines were among them. They also had mining and lumber, which they processed through their many factories. Remember when I said the South was good for farming? They farmed many different crops, but most of all they farmed cotton. Cotton was the leading cash crop at the time and still is one of the leading today. Cotton is used to make diapers, blankets, clothes, and much more.
Because there are so many uses for cotton, it has made lots of money. There was a high demand for this high-maintenance plant. They needed people to work the fields, planting, harvesting, and cleaning the cotton. For this job, they turned to slaves. The slaves came from Africa and were sold at auction. After they were sold to a plantation owner, they were forced to work for no pay, which is what slavery is. The North hated the thought of treating people like animals or worse, like your belongings. In a whole way, they hated the idea of slavery.
The North had a goal, which was to abolish or get rid of slavery, and the South wanted to keep it. This was a disagreement that needed a compromise. A compromise is an agreement or settlement that is reached by both sides. The North and the South made compromises with land, like the Missouri Compromise of 1820. Some were about slavery, like the Dred Scott case in 1857. Some couldn't be compromised, and compromises only last so long before someone doesn't want to agree anymore. Then a fight breaks out. A normal fight leads to an all-out battle. A battle is usually a beginning or part of a war, the Civil War.
Here's the Battle of Gettysburg. It's pretty bad, with all the dead bodies. It does have the highest death count for all battles in the Civil War. Someone did win, and that was the North. Abraham Lincoln used the battle as inspiration to one of the most famous speeches of all time, the Gettysburg Address.
People from the North and the South had different points of view on various topics. People from the North believed that slavery was wrong and that it was unconstitutional to treat people that way. On the other hand, people from the South believed slavery was vital to their way of life. This was one of the basic foundations of the Civil War.
During the war, the North had better technology and transportation, mainly because they were part of the nation that had the factories and ample amount of people to work. Since the South lacked in these two important factors, they lost the war. It took them a long time to rebuild, and some people say it's never truly done.
Although the Civil War was considered disastrous, it had some good in it. The United States became a country where everyone had equal rights and opportunities. The Civil War helped break the racial barrier. Another thing it did was make the states more united by showing that it was weak apart but strong together. Abe Lincoln said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." He was right, with the proof being the war itself. That brings us back to the United States we know today, where everyone is a brother in this big family we call a nation.
That was awesome. Great job, guys.
Well done.
Very impressive, I gotta say.
Did you help us with that?
I can't help you
Hey,
now.
forgot to
I told you.
If that's something you want to extra add, we can do that, but you can go on the computer, go to Movie Maker, but I can't help you now. It's going to be something you have to do at school.
Can we go on the computer so you can do it?
Quietly, yeah.
How do we? I don't have